right. Well, we're going to go ahead and get started with everybody. So first and foremost, this is an industry update. You're the ones that are out pounding the pavement. What are you guys hearing and seeing? That much, huh?
As I just moved into a new community and I'm seeing lots of open house signs in my neighborhood. But they are recurring every weekend. So
Okay.
I feel like it's for at least the homes in my neighborhood, they're not selling as fast as we have been seeing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Anybody else seeing anything glaring out there on the in the streets? All right.
It's Chloe. I'm seeing a lot of the same, a whole lot of like for sale signs and open houses. And then, you'll go, looks like a great house, do some research, and it's still sitting there. Like in my neighborhood, we've had like maybe 3 withdrawn in the last 2 or 3 weeks. So that's a little odd from what we used to see.
Right. Right. Awesome. Yeah. All right. Well, I will tell you, you're not alone. So let's dig into the numbers and I'll show y'all what you're talking about and in the numbers. So first, let's look at the numbers for Fulton County where we start for last week. Oh, I gotta move y'all. All right. So last week, 769 new listings hit the market. What you guys are talking about is exactly this. We had a decrease in the number of active under contracts from the week before. We had a decrease or a slight increase in Fulton County in the number of homes that went from active under contract to pending. And then we did have an uptick in closings. In DeKalb County, same thing, increase in new listings, but a decrease in the number of active under contracts and a decrease in the number of things that went pending from the week before. And when I went through it, Cobb, Gwinnett, all of them all look the same as this chart. We're having an increase in listings and then a slight decrease in pendings, but a major uptick in closings. So that is that seasonality that we're seeing because we're at the end of the 30-day cycle from Labor Day. So the people that went under contract are the ones that are closing. So there were a lot of people that are like, I want to be done with this before we go out of town for Labor Day. So there was a surge in things that were pending 30 days ago. And then that's where we're seeing the closings, or not a surge, but not in DeKalb anyway, but there was in Fulton, if I remember correctly. No, all right, flatline. So things are starting to close, which is good. All right, maybe that's some new construction that's starting to close. That's one of the first things that I wanted to bring to the table today for you guys is some new construction. So I got this from one of our Supreme lenders. There was an uptick in new starts for new construction in August. And that's the first time that that's happened in a couple of months, which is a good sign. So new construction, we definitely need. It's one of the things that motivates existing homeowners to move is they want something new. They want something bigger. They want something better. And oftentimes new construction is what it is. And when we look at the starts over the last couple of months, they significantly decreased. And then we did have this uptick in August, which is a really good thing. All right. Y'all seeing that?
Is there any way to make that fill the screen, Jason? It's teeny.
Is teeny tiny, Jane?
Yes, sir. And I need, magnifying glasses.
Stop. So is that better?
It is, but you see, it's like it's not filling the whole Zoom screen.
Oh, that's because it's a website. So, is that better?
Thank you. Yes, that'll do.
Okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna send Niale the links to this so that you guys can also see it yourselves. And all the other articles that I'm gonna talk about in today's call so that you can look at it on your own, because there's some other interesting stats in there. Does that work for you, Miss Jane? And everybody else?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome. You are very welcome. All right. So other things that I wanted to talk about was something that was interesting in the Business Chronicle today. And it was talking about migration patterns within the nation and within Georgia. So big topic ever since 2020, ever since COVID happened, is there was this mass exodus out of New York and California. Well, New York is growing again, which is not a surprise in my opinion. But Dallas, Austin, and Atlanta are all on the top of the list for growth from migration, from our national migration. But what's interesting is when they dug into it in the city of Atlanta, or in the Atlanta metro area, DeKalb, Fulton, Cobb, and Gwinnett actually had decreases in population, whereas the further suburban counties had an increase. So Cherokee County, for example, had an increase, but Cobb County had a decrease. Forsyth had an increase, but Fulton and Cobb had a decrease. So this is a really interesting article that talks about the people that are moving to Georgia and why, and then also where are they moving within the metro area. So this is a great article. And again, I'll send this to Niale to send out to anybody. But how many of you people or of you folks are dealing with people that are relocating?
I am.
Yep, I am.
I am.
And where are they relocating from?
Little Rock, Arkansas is one I'm dealing with right now.
Okay.
Oh, that's closing California.
California?
Me too, Cali.
Yeah.
Yep. Before that, New York.
Sacramento here.
Sacramento? Yeah.
Chicago.
Okay. Chicago is another area that got hit hard by people leaving and moving. So the Sun Belt is what's referred to basically the area of the country that goes from Phoenix, Arizona, through Texas, Louisiana, Atlanta, up to Charlotte. And then I call it the belt accessory is what I call Miami. And there's a natural migration pattern that happens in between those cities. And now we're throwing into the mix people that are moving from a lot of folks from California. And those folks are not blinking when they see our price points, are they?
No, they are not.
Okay, yeah.
Not even a little. They're celebrating.
They're celebrating. They're like, oh my God, I used to be able to buy a mailbox for what I'm buying a 6-bedroom home for.
I'm buying
Right.
600,000 and I'm going to kind of change the whole thing.
Right. Yeah. So what does that say to you guys as far as how do you protect your business when it comes to that? How do you maximize your business?
Got to build, honestly, a strong referral network. If people are moving in, you need to know agents and other people in other places so they can go, oh, you're going to Atlanta? Let me give you this person's number.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So reaching out and developing those relationships for a referral business and looking at where are people moving from and where are they coming to Atlanta from? And then, so I would definitely be reaching out to multiple agents in Chicago. I would definitely be reaching out to agents and multiple agents in LA, San Francisco, Sacramento, Palo Alto, because those areas are kind of like our neighborhoods. The people that work Roswell typically don't come in town and vice versa. So you need to be reaching out to multiple agents in different parts of LA and San Francisco and those parts of California so that you can get referral partners from all of them. Don't just have one person in LA. That's not going to be enough. that make sense to everybody?
Definitely.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. And then the last thing that I wanted to talk about today, and then I want to open it up to questions, is this article from NPR Marketplace was from August 23rd. And this was after the builders, kind of coined the phrase housing recession versus reality check. And I want you guys to know right now, everybody is really leaning towards this is just a reality check. For people that have been in the industry for longer than 5 years, this is what it was like 5 years ago when we were still in a seller's market, but it wasn't a guarantee. You had to do more than putting a sign in the yard and putting it in the MLS to sell it. Does that make sense?
Definitely.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, like Mariah said at the beginning of the call, and Chloe as well, is, you see these homes that they're doing open house after open house after open house. Trust me, we weren't doing that 2 years ago. You didn't have to, but 5 years ago we did, even though we were in a seller's market. So my question to you guys is, how do we take that information for those of you that are new, and then for those of us that have been around for a minute, how do we quickly remember what it used to be like so that we can make edits to what our listing presentations and our buyer consults, what changes do we have to make in those so that we're setting better expectations for our clients?
You just need to set the standard for them and just not necessarily explain, but walk them through that as the market shifts, so is the way that we're going to be going about the buying or selling process, and go from A to Z and let them know it's okay if it's going to be a little slower. Don't get worried about that. It's just the way the market moves, and you have to let them understand what the market is doing as well, so they're reassured.
Yeah. One question I used to ask sellers and buyers, but for sellers, I would say, okay, seller, would it be a problem if we went under contract this weekend and you had to be out of the home in 28 days? And then ask, would it be a problem if we did not go under contract for 3 months? And go ahead and get a sense of where are they in their head with the reality of the market that we're in. And if you don't go under contract in 3 months, are you going to be freaking out? Are you going to be thinking that I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Are you going to be open to a price reduction?
That's also something I've been noticing, is all of the price reductions. I was looking at some homes where there's a vacation home, and prices are being cut by $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. Some of the more luxury homes, $200,000 as of August. So, it's definitely getting to a point where, as far as when dealing with sellers, it's not going to necessarily be houses on the market for now 3 or 4 days and you get an all cash offer for 8% over asking, especially, and you're going to have to reconsider how you're going about your listing price now too.
Yeah. And Mariah, I'll tell you, that is still happening when it's priced correctly.
Mhm.
Things. Who is
I'm
that?
sorry, I was just going to ask you, Jason, you had mentioned in your scenario 3 months that's a little long to wait for a price reduction, don't you think? But my question is, in this market, how quickly does one suggest? I guess it really does depend on what their mindset is how
it depends on the mindset. It depends on the neighborhood. Like if you're, say for example, you're over in your neighborhood off of Claremont, Jane, if your average days on market are 21,
Mhm.
I wouldn't want to talk about doing a price reduction until until we're on the market past 21 days,
Right.
you know? But at the same time, the reason I threw out the scenario of 3 months is because we got to make sure that they're not still thinking they're in the market as 6 months ago or a year ago. And you throw out a jarring number like 3 months of being on the market, you're going to see an initial like face response of, what are you talking about?
For sure.
When I started and I filled out listing agreements, our listing agreements were for 6 months and it never failed. Sellers would say, do you think it's going to take that long? No, in the market that we're in, no, but it could. Our industry is changing daily. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah, I think there are still an awful lot of buyers and sellers that just from what they kind of hear in the world that still think that we are in somewhat of that crazy market. So I think when you try to like I said, even if it's just talking to a lead and you're talking to them, they're still thinking, oh, I'm going to have to put, well, oh, if I look at 400, it's going to cost me 450, right? I'm like, well, probably not. You know, I mean, you have to go into an explanation, but I think that I guess maybe the common mindset hasn't really changed. So we still have to go in with that assumption that this is what they're thinking. So we've got to talk them down or talk them to reality or, you know, give it our best.
Yeah. I mean, I think a reality check is needed for everyone because, Carlin, I think in all honesty, it's feast or famine. They either think we're still in the market of 6 months ago or a year ago, or they think that we're, you know, in 1929, the Great Depression is right around the corner. And
That's so true.
We need to bring them
That
into
is so
reality.
That is so true.
Yeah, I mean, the news media right now is dictating our narrative, and we need to go, wait a second, I love the people on the news, but they're not realtors. Let me tell you what's actually happening in the streets. Let me tell you what's happening in this neighborhood. Let me show you this property seller that did go under contract in a day with multiple offers, and let me show you what they did. And if that's what you're looking for, then this is what we have to do. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes, I think setting expectations right now is the most important thing.
Yeah. And I would set expectations to the market that we're going to be in when they list or when they buy. And that's the hardest part for us right now, is figuring, like, if, you know, I was talking to my business partner and he had a client that wanted to sell. They started talking in March, but they didn't actually put it on the market until right before the 4th of July. And it's like he had to have the conversation all over again and explain that everything has changed. And guess what? That home is still on the market. And the seller's sitting there going, what's going on? And you're having to explain to them, this is what's happening right now.
You missed that window.
You missed
It's a moving target.
It's a moving target. So being able to talk to somebody that's getting pre-approved in next week or 2 weeks, we have trend lines that are showing we're getting an uptick in listings, but the number of under contracts are going down. So there's going to be a little bit more to shop and look at. But how do we as buyers agents go, but I don't want to show you 60 homes. So there's the need for a really good buyer needs analysis is clicking in, because we really do need to know what are they looking for instead of just a 3-bedroom, 2-bath in this zip code, which is Basically, all you had to ask a year ago or 2 years ago was three bedroom, 2 bath, this zip code, this price point. Go. And now we really do need to start digging in with those needs analysis for buyers so that you're not showing them all 125 homes that came on the market this week that are new on top of what was already there. All right. What questions do y'all have for me? Normally there's 2 of us, but there was an emergency, so now it's just me. So thank y'all for being here. Any questions?
I have a question. Well, it's kind of with the market and with the getting new customers. How long after like a house has maybe been withdrawn from the market can you start to try to contact that person? Or how long is it normally when they end their other agreements? Because I don't want to send them something and then they are represented and it's not good. So I'm trying to get the timing right.
Well, that was the purpose of the whole creation of the hold feature, Chloe, is if you're pulling it off the market to relist it, you know, a lot of times you should be putting it into the hold status versus the fully withdrawn.
Okay.
But I think withdrawn, there's nothing wrong with calling them that day or the next day to go, what's going on? But
Okay.
typically withdrawn means that the sellers changed their mind, not that the listing agreement expired.
Okay.
I made that mistake recently where I took it off and I just withdrew it and I didn't put it on hold and my seller got bombarded. Yes. Yes. I was like, oh my God, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And so just knowing that you are potentially got another round of objections to take care of with the seller, because why did they change their mind?
Right. Okay.
So with an expired, they're probably still in that motivation of I need or want to sell. But with the expired, or I mean with the withdrawns, they changed their mind, but at whose advice?
Okay. So that's definitely a call where you need to have questions ready to go.
Yeah. I remember one of my agents in May of 2020 or no, June of 2020 called a home that was withdrawn, and the seller told him that their previous agent said nothing was selling because of COVID.
Okay.
And we were
Yeah, so it's worth the call.
ever. Yeah, absolutely. You just got to be prepared to ask the questions.
And make sure they're not on the do not call list.
Also, thank you, Jane. Make sure they're not on the do not call list.
Definitely. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah. All right. Any other questions? All right. Well, thanks guys for coming. I appreciate it. It was a short and sweet call. And like I said, somebody had an emergency. So I will email Niale all the articles and websites that I was on, and hopefully we can attach them to the video on the Heart of Atlanta YouTube page so that you guys can go back and reference them.